Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms. And this movie literally just came out today. I only just watched it for the first time like an hour ago. So the movie's still pretty fresh in my mind. So yeah, but just before I get into it, I'm just going to let you guys know this is a spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking spoilers for basically the entirety of the movie. Just feel like me giving a spoiler review is the best way for me to do a detailed review with all my thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. If you don't care about spoilers, then feel free to watch it anyway. But if you haven't seen the movie and do care about spoilers, then definitely go check it out and then come back and watch this after you're done. So just to give my quick brief overall summary of how I feel about the movie, is the movie has a lot of good moments and there's a lot of things I really liked about the movie. However, there's a lot of things that really drag the movie down, especially in like the third act, the final part of the movie, that just kind of seemingly just drag the whole thing down for me. So let's get into specifics here. So like the beginning scene is pretty cool. I like there's two or three Tarkatans chasing after Liu Kang's mother and father when Liu Kang was a baby, and then Raiden shows up and absolutely destroys them, which I thought was awesome. I always really like seeing Raiden's power level be shown. And then we kind of go to Earthrealm, and we see that the Netherrealm army, which for some reason is working with our world for some reason, but hey, whatever, is attacking the Shaolin. We get some cool fight scenes. We see Kung Lao, we see Stryker and Jack show up to help Kung Lao, which was cool to see. I really liked Kung Lao and Stryker being in this. Kung Lao is one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters, and Stryker I feel like is pretty underrated, so I was happy to see him in it. And of course Jax is awesome as always, so it was good to see him come back and kick some ass. And then we get Johnny Cage basically shit talking the Outworld opponents, which was like Katana, Rico, Kintaro, and I think one or two others, I can't remember. But then basically Johnny kind of just gets jumped and ambushed, and then has Sonya come in and help him with Raiden and Liu Kang, which I thought that was a really cool scene too. I really liked seeing, I just really liked seeing Raiden actually use his powers for once, so that was nice. I like seeing that. And then we get some Lin Kuei stuff. I dug showing that I like showing that Kuai Lang, Sub-Zero, is training with Smoke just to show, the friends, so I thought that was cool. And then, of course, they introduced the Cyber Initiative, which Cyrax and Sector are more awesome characters. Obviously, sadly, Smoke gets turned into a cyborg, which, is canon and accurate to the games, so it does make sense. I like it, but I don't like it because I feel like Smoke is always getting done dirty. And I thought all that stuff was cool, like with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I kind of like Scorpion and Sub-Zero's side plot, which is just basically like Scorpion has to make sure that the Lin Kuei don't get the Kami Dogu for Shinnok. But I'm going to get into all that stuff a little bit later. So, just to give you my overall take on like the tournament. Like the tournament was mostly cool. Like that was actually like my favorite part of the movie. I like just the fact that you have all these Mortal Kombat fighters fighting each other. But one big problem with it is the fact that because there's so many characters, the fight scenes only last like 20 seconds for each fight. I mean, some of them are a little bit longer, but because there's so many characters and because the movie is so short, I believe the movie's only like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that, you barely get to see any of these cool choreographed animated fight scenes really go through. You just kind of have, oh well, let's get a 10-second fight scene between Liu Kang and Jade, or Katana and whoever, which is kind of disappointing because you want to see some of those characters have longer, drawn-out fight scenes where they actually get to show off their powers and abilities. And one interesting thing that this movie does, which is kind of a callback almost to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is a terrible movie, but Raiden actually gives up his godhood to become mortal to fight with the champions of Earthrealm, which I really dug that. I like when Raiden actually becomes more involved. A lot of people seem to be critical of Raiden in the games, how he just kind of stands around and mentors the characters without ever actually getting involved, so I like that aspect of it. But, really the big issue with the tournament is just the fact that the fight scenes are so fast, you barely get any time with some of these characters, and then the next time you see them, they're in a fight for 10 seconds and then they die. So it's like, what the hell, man? Like, perfect example is just Kung Lao. We see Kung Lao in the beginning for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes with the Shaolin monks and all that, and Stryker and Jax, like I mentioned. And then you see him fight Shao Kahn, and he gets killed, like, right away. And the same thing goes with Stryker. Like, you see Stryker, keep in mind, Stryker and Kung Lao are new to this series. Like, not to the MK series as a whole, obviously, but they just were introduced in this movie, and we barely get any time to grow attached to these characters. Which, I'm already attached to them as a Mortal Kombat fan, but someone who's maybe not a Mortal Kombat fan who's watching this won't care that Kung Lao and Stryker get killed, because it's like, oh, they've been in the movie for, what, 2 minutes, so who cares? And I think a lot of these problems that this movie really has is just because it has such a short runtime. The movie, like I said, is only like an hour and 20 minutes, so you're juggling all these characters. You're juggling like 3 side plots. Well, not 3 side plots, but like 3 stories within one movie, which are all fairly big stories. And the movie's not even like an hour and a half, so a lot of it just seems so rushed. And I feel like this movie really would have benefited from being like a 2-parter, or maybe just completely taking out some of the other side plots and just strictly focusing on the tournament to have some character development and stuff like that. Really, the only characters who get developed, I'd say, were like Raiden, for taking away his godhood and essentially sacrificing himself for Liu Kang and the other warriors, which was awesome. I really liked how they did Raiden in this. He was actually one of my favorite parts. We get to see Liu Kang actually become the Chosen One, which was cool. One of the things I didn't like about the first one, Scorpion's Revenge, which I did like that movie overall, but one of the things I didn't like about it was just the fact that Liu Kang got his ass beat by Goro, so they kind of made him a little bit less powerful than he was in the games. And as well as just the fact that I like that Johnny and Sonya's relationship develops in this, but I feel like Johnny and Sonya didn't really get that much screen time, whereas they were like some of the main characters in the first one. I just wish, like I said, that the runtime was either longer or they focused on less of the characters, just so that the smaller cast of characters, we could actually flesh them out a little bit more and learn to care about them. So the first side plot in this movie is like this whole thing of Scorpion is basically like the key is inside him or something like that to get the Kamidogu or something weird. It's kind of convoluted and didn't really make sense. But the key is inside him, and Shinnok basically tells him, like, you're gonna go find this Kamidogu, and then Scorpion's just like, nah, I'm good. And then Sub-Zero, who's training with the Lin Kuei, is basically told, oh, you gotta go after these guys. And then the Cyber Lin Kuei is introduced, and a lot of that just has to do with Sub-Zero wants revenge on Scorpion, but these Cyber Lin Kuei are chasing Sub-Zero after they just turned Smoke into a Cyber Lin Kuei, and now it's kind of like Scorpion versus Sub-Zero with the 3 Cyber Ninjas coming after them, and Scorpion and Sub-Zero kind of have to team up with each other, which I didn't think it was that bad. I kind of liked it. Like, I just liked seeing Scorpion and Sub-Zero kind of, you know, have to become allies, even though they don't want to be. I mean, Scorpion was probably more willing to, but Sub-Zero obviously wants his, you know, revenge for his brother in the first movie, which I thought was cool. And if that was the only side plot, this movie might have been better, because it would have just been 2 stories going side by side with each other. However, the biggest problem is that obviously that's for Shinnok to basically bring back the one being. So you have the tournament and this other side plot of Scorpion and Sub-Zero going on for like an hour or so of the movie, and then in like the last 20 minutes of the movie, it's like Shinnok got all the Kamidogu, so we have to really rush into the last 20 minutes here and just put it all together. And I just thought that there was way too much going on for this movie, especially since it had such a short runtime. I also feel like they rushed into some of these certain story beats so quickly. Like, they didn't need to have Shinnok in this. Shao Kahn is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, most legendary Mortal Kombat villain of all time. So, why couldn't you just make the whole movie focus on the tournament and Outworld against him? I don't understand why they needed to shoehorn Shinnok and the One Being into the last 20 minutes of this movie. Also, they kind of rushed into the whole Liu Kang becoming a god aspect, because this is really, in basis, using the basis of the games, this really should be like Mortal Kombat 2. And Liu Kang didn't become a fire god until MK11, so why are we rushing so quickly into that storyline? So yeah, in my opinion, I just believe that they were just juggling too many different ideas with one movie, and that's kind of why the movie falls flat a little bit, in my opinion. And I just think if they had just focused on one core storyline with the Battle of the Realms, and maybe, you know, you could have the little side plot with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, just because, you know, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, you kind of need them in the movie because they're like the most iconic Mortal Kombat characters, so that's nice to have them. But it's like, juggling all these different stories in such a short runtime, it's just not going to go well. It's like something a lot of people say about like certain superhero movies, is that in some superhero movies they have too many villains in the movie, so they're juggling too many things for the hero to overcome at one time, so it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel natural, and the progression and pacing is really off. So really my biggest problem with the movie is just the pacing of it, and I think that really dragged the movie down. I mean, I was even watching it with my brother, and even he's a Mortal Kombat fan, but he's not a big Mortal Kombat fan, you know, like me. And he was like, what the hell, man? Why are they rushing into Shinnok and the One Being and, you know, Fire God Liu Kang so quickly? Thought that was just a little bit too quick how they did that, and I honestly thought that element of the story was pretty disappointing. And also, another criticism that I have for the movie is just, yet again, has to do with it being kind of rushed and short runtime, is that a lot of characters barely get any time to shine. Like, you have Lee May in the movie, she's barely in the movie, she gets her ass beat. Also, they seem to not really understand that Lee May wouldn't want to work for Outworld. If you know Lee May's story, she lived in a town in Outworld that basically the Deadly Alliance took over, and she hated them. Lee May was a hero, from what I remember, in the 3D era, and it was like, I don't know why they decided to just throw her in there for a quick fight scene. She doesn't even have a single line of dialogue. It doesn't even make sense. And like, same thing with like characters like Rico and Stryker, like they're there, but they're not really fleshed out at all, so why are they even in the movie other than just to be like, hey, look, it's Stryker, you know, as a callback to the older games and give respect to, you know, what came before. But I just felt like I said, there was just too much going on in the movie at once, and I just thought if this was made into a two-parter, or the movie was longer, or there was less stuff to focus on in just one movie, then it would have been a lot better. Also, to get back to the whole One Being thing, the One Being is supposed to be like a universal threat in Mortal Kombat. Like, when the One Being shows up, if he ever shows up, like, he's never actually made an appearance in the games. So, if the One Being does show up, basically, the universe is screwed. So, to have, like, the One Being and Shinnok, who are both insanely powerful characters, come into one, you know, no pun intended, come into one being with each other and become like one. And to have them be defeated in less than like a half hour feels like a real cop-out. I mean, it's like, imagine if in Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, Thanos showed up after being built up for all this time, and then they beat him in just like 20 minutes. And it's like, what the hell? You know, that just feels like the power scaling and how powerful these characters are. They didn't really get the justice that they deserved in the movie, in my opinion. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say. You know, just to do a quick recap, I thought most of the characters from the first movie were done alright. You know, there were some that I thought were done kind of dirty. There was too many characters who were, you know, just kind of thrown in the movie for no reason. I felt like the movie had way too much on its plate to be able to handle. And I also just thought that like I said, some of the characters were just thrown in the movie for no reason other than just to be like, hey, Cyrax and Sector or whoever in the movie. And I know I'm kind of sounding harsh, sounds like I hate the movie. But there were actually some things that I enjoyed about the movie. Like I said, I enjoyed Raiden's story. I mostly enjoyed Liu Kang's story until the end. I enjoyed Johnny Cage and Sonya's plot. I enjoyed some of the moments that Jax had. I enjoyed some of the fight scenes that were a little bit longer. And I also enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the Scorpion and Sub-Zero plot line. But I just, like I said, I wish that they had focused more on the main tournament itself and not had so many different stories going on at once, which I just ultimately felt like dragged the movie down. So overall, I believe that the movie was okay. You know, for any Mortal Kombat fans, I would definitely suggest watching it and check it out yourself and see how you feel, because like I said, there were a lot of moments that I enjoyed in the movie. I just thought overall, story-wise especially, it was pretty lacking, and it really needed a lot more time to let the story flesh itself out. And I also feel like this whole thing of Liu Kang's now the Fire God kind of almost rushed too far into the Mortal Kombat universe, and now I feel like we're gonna have the next animated movie is gonna have to be about like Kronika or Onaga or something like that, where I felt like to have this one be this big movie with Shao Kahn, and then kind of have like the next one ease into like a lower tier villain, like maybe the Deadly Alliance, you know, that isn't as big of a threat, and then in the one after that you bring a massive threat back to raise the stakes again. So honestly, I hope the next one that they do better than this, because I honestly thought Scorpion's Revenge was awesome. I just thought this one was kind of lackluster, and overall I enjoyed it, but it did have a lot of problems. So my rating for the movie would probably be a 6.5 out of 10. It was okay. Would I watch it again? Probably. Would I want to really watch it again that often? Probably not. But I still would. Especially if someone wanted to watch it, and I was like, sure, why not? But overall, I just felt like the movie really needed a lot more time to breathe, and I felt like they were trying to cram too many story elements into one movie, and it just fell under the weight of its own, it fell under its own weight. So that's really all I gotta say about this one, guys. Like I said, I definitely do still recommend check out the movie, see what you think. I'm sure some people really liked it, but you know, overall for me, thought it was kind of disappointing. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on this one, folks. Y'all stay safe, stay groovy.